Hey folks, I wanted to do a quick video on position sizing on our zero data expiration trades. Now obviously position sizing is number one on the list in terms of things that we need to do correctly to be able to consistently be profitable in our trades. And so this of course doesn't just apply simply to our zero data expiration trades, but it is definitely amplified when we do these zero data expiration trades. The amount of your portfolio that we put into any one trade is incredibly important to the outcome of the trade. You may think, well, the trade either makes money or it doesn't. But to be able to consistently work through risk, to consistently work through the losses that we incur as we go along with any trading strategy, we've got to be position sized correctly. We have to leg into these trades, or as I like to say, we just like to dip our toe into the water slowly but surely rather than just simply dumping ourselves right into the deep end of the pool. So the first thing that we want to look at, guys, when we look at position sizing is just a general rule of thumb that we always use, and that is we don't want to commit more than 10% of our trading capital to any one individual strategy. It doesn't matter the strategy, folks. It doesn't matter how good the investment opportunity is. It doesn't matter how appealing or how much you like any given approach to investing your money. We never want to allocate more than about 10% of our given capital to any one particular strategy. So, for example, let's say in this case that we're working with some easy round numbers. Let's say that we have $100,000 of total capital that we are trading with. This would be our total, right? Well, how much would we commit to any one particular strategy? Obviously, that's going to be $10,000, okay? That's the number that we're going to work with. Now, if the immediate question pops up in your mind, hey, that's great, what do I do with the other $90,000? What do I do with the other 90% of my money? And check out the asset allocation video here in my series of educational videos as well. And we'll talk about how to allocate your capital amongst maybe 12 different places that are all very non-correlated and well diversified. But for this example, let's say that we do have $10,000. We've looked at our overall capital. We've said that we're willing to commit $10,000 of that capital to the zero day to expiration trading strategy. How would we go about dipping our toe into the water? Or in other words, how would we go about sliding that $10,000 slowly over time into an overall position? Well, step one is we want to start looking at entering our first leg. Now this actually starts happening. The work on this starts taking place well before the market even opens. Even before the market opens, I'm looking at the futures market. I'm looking at the E-mini futures contract, the ES contract, and we're trying to divine some directional bias or directional nature to the marketplace. Now sometimes that's easier said than done, but that's what we're looking for. We're looking at, does the market look like it's going to open strong? Does it look like it's going to open flat? Does it look like it's going to open weak, etc.? So even before the market opens, we're starting our homework on this. We're starting our analyses. We let the market open up. We actually let it trade for 1 hour. We let it trade into the very first hour of the trading day. So we let it open up. We let it find its footing, whatever that may be, whether it's up, down, or sideways. We want to sort of let it start to define that trend for the day. It doesn't mean that what happens in the first hour of the day is going to continue for the rest of the day, but probability-wise, that is a good way to start off our trading day. And that's all we're really looking at is probability. So we wait for that first hour of trading to take place. We see a directional bias, and we enter our first leg of the trade on what we call the strong side of the trade. Now, the strong side of the trade would be the spread opposite the way the market is moving. So, for example, let's say that we see that the market opens up strong, it's moving to the upside, we would sell the put spread. Because as the market now moves away from our put spread, as the market goes up and away from our put spread, we're getting sort of a dual fold benefit to that. We're working the theta, and again, zero data expiration trades are really about theta. but we're not only getting theta on that trade, we're also getting some delta help as well. And it is that delta help that is really, in the first part of the day, more important than that theta. And so that's helping us build some profit into our first leg of the trade. Generally speaking, when we enter this first leg, about an hour into the trading day, I'm going to look to allocate maybe 35 to 40% of my overall trading capital. So again, in this example here where I have $10,000 to trade with, I might come in here as strong as $4,000. I might start off that trade with $4,000. Okay, that's our first entry of the day. Now, as time goes by, we're going to look at our second leg entry of the day, and this happens around the second hour of trading. Now, that's not a hard and fast rule, but that's when we start looking at this is probably 2 hours now into the trading day. We're going to start looking at adding our second leg. Now, this is an either or kind of situation, folks. One of two things is going to happen here now, 2 hours into that trading day. Number one is that the market has sort of found its range. It's maybe consolidating a little bit, or maybe even coming back, maybe regressing back to our original leg that we put in. If that's the case, then we can obviously go ahead and put in our opposite leg. So if we started off the first hour with a put leg, we would put in the corresponding call leg, or vice versa. If we start off with a call leg, we would put in the corresponding put leg. Now, of course, as you know, with iron condors and spreads, once we do that, we don't have to come up with any additional buying power. That doesn't cost us any of our buying power because we've already allocated our risk capital in the first side of that trade. So either A, we would find that the market is consolidating or stalling out a little bit, and we would put in the opposite leg of the trade, thus completing an iron condor, or hey, maybe the market is just continuing on its same path. Maybe it is continuing to move away from our strong side, and we can now take that as an opportunity to build on our strong side, to actually add some additional capital to that trade. And I would add maybe as much as 10 or 15% more to that trade. So either way, we may be somewhere right now around 50% of our buying power. I might be $5,000 committed to this trade from my $10,000 allocation. Okay, so this is the second hour of trading. Now, about 3 to 3.5 hours into the trading day, so basically halfway through the day, there is a high likelihood that we're going to need to adjust, or should I say readjust, our trade in order to rebalance the delta. Almost inevitably, folks, at this point, at step 3.5 hours into the trading day, halfway through our trading session, if we have a full iron condor in place, if we've got some puts on one side of the trade with this put spread and a call spread on the other side, we're probably getting close to being unbalanced, right? If we are absolutely just perfect on our delta neutrality, it's probably more luck than anything. It's not anything on our part in terms of expertise. So there is a very good chance, probably 3 to 3.5 hours into the trading day, we're going to need to try to rebalance that trade once again. Now that might involve moving legs up or down. That might be adding contracts to one side or another to unbalance the iron condor, adding some more to the calls if we're moving down to the put side, adding more to the puts if we're moving up to the call side. But either way, about halfway through the day, we're going to do some rebalancing here to try to get this trade more equidistant and more properly centered for more of a delta neutral look, if you will. So as I do that here, I'm probably going to add, again, on our example here of a $10,000 account, I'm probably going to add somewhere between $2,000 to the trade and maybe as much as $3,500 to the trade. So at this point, I'll probably be 70 to 85% invested. So that you can see here now that it has taken basically a whole half day of trading to get up to a 70% or 85% buying power level. It's taken a while here today to start working my way up on that. That would, of course, leave me with some remaining what we refer to as dry powder. You always want to have dry powder. And I've said this so many times, folks, there's obviously no guarantees in the marketplace, and there is no guarantee that you can adjust and fix and turn every single losing trade into a winning trade. But you guys understand the concept that if we have $10,000 to go trade with, and we enter a trade with maybe $1,000 of that capital, and it goes against us, and maybe it goes against us in a full loss mode, which would be it blows through not only our short leg, but it also blows through our call leg, right? So that'd be our long leg, rather. So that would be a max loss on the trade. Even in that case, that's probably a fixable trade because you've got $9,000 of capital to throw at that $1,000 trade, right? If we invert that, if we reverse those numbers and we say, hey, I'm starting out with $10,000 and I'm going to go throw $9,000 of it right up front into a trade, and that trade goes against us, what's your ability at that point to adjust that trade or fix that trade? It's very, very nominal, right? And so you're probably going to just take a loss on that trade. So again, position sizing, very, very critical. I want to go into the last part of the trading day with some remaining dry powder still in place, 15 to 20% of my account value, just sitting there in cash, waiting in case there are any further adjustments needed. Okay, so that would be sort of the allocation process that we use. Now, step 5 is we want to exit our legs 1/2 hour left in the trading session. So for me, I'm in mountain time. That means 1:30, right? 1/2 hour before the cash session close takes place. We want to be out of these positions, completely out of these positions. We don't have a lot of time here in this video to talk about the effects of gamma and how that really can adversely affect our position in a very, very short period of time. But that last half hour of trading, guys, that's when the risk really during the day takes place. And I've seen this over and over and over again, that we get to the point where we've worked our trade throughout the day, we're down to the last half hour, maybe we had the opportunity to bring in $1,000 credit, and we've done well during the day. So we're showing $800 of profit that we could book right now. But that also means what? That means that there's $200 of profit potential still sitting out there in extrinsic value, and we are cheap and we are greedy. And we don't want to pay the commission to exit these trades because we know if they just expire on their own, there's no commission charge there. And we also want to capture that remaining extrinsic value, that $200. And so we just sit in the trade hoping, see, now our strategy has turned from a well thought out game plan to buy and hope, right? Which is never a good strategy. We sit there hoping that we can get into the expiration time safe. And this, of course, is usually a recipe for disaster. Now, one quick note here on exiting our legs prior to the market close. Those of you that are trading accounts that are smaller in size than $25,000, of course, you know that there is PDT rules, and we have pattern day trading rules, and we have to abide by those. If you trade more than 3-day trades in a 5-day period, you're going to find out that your account gets locked up for 90 days. And that's never an exciting thing to have to deal with. So if there's not an issue with this, if you're trading less than $25,000, you can still do 0 data expiration trades. You, of course, would just need to trade the futures contract on the S&P 500. That's the ticker symbol ES, and those are called the E-minis. And futures contracts track the S&P 500 as well, but they just simply don't have the pattern day trading rules applied to them. So that's the sort of roundabout way to get around those types of issues if you're trading less than $25,000. However, and here is the key with those, futures continue to trade after the cash close. After the market closes, futures continue to trade for 15 minutes. And so it is absolutely imperative, if you are trading the futures contracts, that you make sure you exit prior to the cash close. Otherwise, you're going to be at risk for something that you have no control over. The market's closed, but your contracts continue to trade. So that's a special note there on that. And then last but not least, folks, we're looking for a 40 to 60% capture rate on these trades. So if I were to do a $10,000 trade today and bring in $1,000 in premium credit right up front, my goal at the end of the day would be to keep or to capture $400 to $600 of that $1,000 total. I want to keep somewhere around half of that total. So just keep that in mind, that if we can keep that capture rate in that range, that's going to allow you the ability to get out early and not have to worry about that last half hour of trading. So guys, again, I get this question all the time on position sizing, and the key here really as we look at this position sizing wise is if I were to put this trade together, and let's just talk about some numbers here real quickly. So let's take an example here of an end of the day. We're halfway through the day. We positioned ourselves fairly well. Let's say that we have $8,000 that is allocated into our total trade here. Now, that obviously the income from that is going to vary, but let's say that that income, the credit, if you will, that we receive from that is roughly a $600 credit, okay? Now, we have to set up some type of an exit management system. It can be stop losses. It can be a mental approach. It can simply be the spread itself. Remember that one of the reasons beyond margin is that we set two different contracts, that we set a short leg and a long leg in each one of our spreads is to define risk. These trades are defined risk. It could blow through both of those legs. It doesn't matter. It's not going to increase the risk because you have a defined risk trade, right? The long leg is offsetting the losses of the short leg. But regardless, let's say that we put up $8,000, we bring in a $600 credit on the trade, and the trade doesn't work out. So a common number that we use is 3 times our credit. That could be an exit point. That would be a $1,800 loss on the day, right? We don't adjust it, we don't do anything with it, we just take that $1,800 loss. It's 3 times our initial credit, and we are now down $1,800. Guys, $1,800 on a $100,000 total portfolio, it's a 1.8% fluctuation. That is well within what the market does on every single day. Every single day the market fluctuates around 2% a day, and so that could just be considered a normal daily fluctuation. It's not impactful on your total portfolio, and in fact you should have other positions that are helping to offset that. So that's the difference between position sizing. We look at what is called the chance of ruin. Ruin is a very important word in the market. What is your chance of ruin on every single trade? Is it something that is nominal, that doesn't even really affect you and doesn't make you even bat an eye? Or is it something that actually bankrupts you, that puts you in the poorhouse, or that completely depletes your entire trading account, right? The only difference between those two results, a result where it doesn't even make you bat an eye and the result where it bankrupts you, is not whether or not the trade works. It's whether or not you are properly position sized. So ultimately, guys, we want our trades to work. That's a given. But much more important than our trades working is how well positioned are you in these trades. And one of the easy ways, you don't need to go into all the complicated math, one of the easy ways to know whether you're properly position sized in a trade is, can you take that full lock limit loss? Can you take that and have it not really affect you, A, financially, and B, emotionally? If the answer is yes, if the answer is, my goodness, a 1.8% fluctuation on my total account portfolio, I probably got 15 other things trying to help me offset that during the day, it's probably not even worth even noting. Is that your response? Or is it, oh my goodness, I've just blown up my account and we're going to have to sell the car, right? So again, position sizing, very, very critical.